about mixed conceptions and tolerance. We live in a multi-ethnic, as they say, a melting pot, a diverse culture, a diverse society. But is there really religious freedom and equality in Trinidad and Tobago? Do all feel as though they're getting an equal share? Do they feel that they're represented in every possible facet of society? So we just thought that it may be applicable on this day to organize a panel to explore this issue. In-house with us today is former president of the IRO, Reverend Cyril Paul. We also are joined by Imam Ibrahim Asif Ali. He is from the executive of ASJA. And we have UE lecturer Jerome Teelucksingh. And also online, well, joining us via telephone this morning is Devant Maharaj. He's an executive member of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. Good morning to you all. Good morning, Devant. I know that you have joined us already.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Let's start, and maybe we can start with Dr. Teelucksingh. You can open up the floor. Religious equalities and freedoms in Trinidad and Tobago. What exactly does the Constitution say, and do we have equality and equity in Trinidad and Tobago?
Good morning, Hemat. Thanks for the introduction. Good morning, fellow panelists, and Ramadan greetings to your viewers. The Constitution talks about freedom, freedom of worship, freedom of speech. But recently, as you know, we had the Equal Opportunity Commission being implemented. So there is a certain level of discrimination in society, and there was this need for persons to be properly represented and for certain avenues. So I believe that even though we have the Constitution, we needed other legislation to ensure. Recently, we had the desecration of the Waterloo Temple last year and a Canopia Temple. I believe a Tortuga was desecrated also. So the sacred space, places of worship, maybe we need additional legislation, right? Additional laws that would protect this religious space of the different religions.
Okay. Now, speaking of different space, different religions, we do have representatives from each faith, each of the major faiths that is in Trinidad and Tobago. Imam, religious equality and equity in Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning, Ms. Ramki Savuna, Reverend Cyril Paul, and our dear Dr. Jerome. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here to join with you all on this program. And coming back to equality, we need to realize and always remind ourselves about the purpose of us being created, and that is to worship and submit our entire lives to God. But hand in hand with that, we have also our duties towards our fellow human beings. And we all need to always consider that we live in a multi-ethnic society where we have Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and we ought to have equality and justice amongst ourselves.
Reverend Paul, your opening comments on that question.
The fact that in 1970, the country saw it fit to see the emergence of an inter-religious organization is loud testimony to the fact that there was a tremendous amount of inequality. The interreligious organization has tried to address that need and that concern, and from 1970 to now we have made tremendous strides. However, there is still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of good work still has to be done.
A lot of good work still has to be done. On the line now is Devant Maharaj. Devant is an executive member of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. He is well known throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Devant, your thoughts on that question? Religious equality, equity, freedom in Trinidad and Tobago.
I think it's an ideal that we continue to strive for in Trinidad and Tobago, but it remains just that, something that we have to strive towards, because Professor Teelucksingh just cited several recent examples, and I could list a few others, but it pointed to one thing, that there are too many examples in our society where inequality of treatment, intolerance, differences continues to be the order of the day and the norm. We still have people in Trinidad not knowing the difference between Eid and Diwali, and they ask you for Diwali, is this a Muslim thing or vice versa? So I think our acts of intolerance is fed by our general lack of understanding and of each other. We have in Trinidad really a type of schizophrenic society where people exist in virtually two Trinidad, one on the official level where they interact with people at a very superficial level in the workplace and so on, but then in the afternoon they retreat back into their own separate Trinidad where the existence of all others are non-existent.
Two separate Trinidad and Tobagos. That is an interesting point that Devant has brought up. Dr. Teelucksingh, do you see that? I mean, you lecture and you've studied this phenomenon for quite a while. Do you feel as though there are two Trinidad and Tobago?
I believe for many homes that could be true, that we tend to not just two Trinidad and Tobagos officially and unofficially, but sometimes at the workplace we act a certain way, and at the home we act in a different way. And I believe that could be where one of the solutions could lie. In the home, parents need to be more mindful of their role in making their children more respectful, more tolerant, more accommodating of other religions and ethnic groups. Not just this home, but also the schools. Maybe the government should introduce compulsory religious instruction at the primary and secondary schools so that we could understand what each other's religions mean, what these symbols mean, right? Yes, the media is doing an excellent job. We will see it in the newspapers, radio programs, television programs, but I believe that a special program, maybe once a week in the schools, will make students more tolerant of each other's religions.
Devant, you're the one that raised the points of this dichotomy of society, as you see. But do you not believe that at this time we see that Trinidad and Tobago really is a melting pot and that there is tolerance in terms of the different religions and ethnic groups in Trinidad and Tobago?
I don't see that at all, and I would ask you to point where is the evidence of such understanding and tolerance when today we have the parliament still insisting on using amen as the salutation of the end of their prayer, totally ignoring the Hindu presence. We have had the Hindu community having to struggle for over 3 decades for the removal of the Trinity Cross, and what do they do at the first instance of the new order? Totally ignore any Hindu or Muslim recipients in the scheme of things. So here in 2008, as we go into 2009, we have evidence of religious intolerance. Last year, recall that the Commissioner of Police prevented the celebration of Diwali at various police stations throughout Trinidad and Tobago, in particular Central Trinidad. Evidence of intolerance continue. They have adopted more sophisticated means of expressing themselves. It's not as naked and as blatant as it was in previous years, but it still exists. We are told of school children having their pikas being rubbed off in certain schools in Trinidad, their Raksha Bandhan being sliced off, their sacred threads being cut off after pujas, and the list goes on and on. And this is Trinidad in 2008. So there is this degree of intolerance that has assumed a veneer of sophistication that continues to pervade.
Now, Imam, I'd like to get your views on some points that were raised by Mr. Maraj. He's pointing out the examples that he believes that there's intolerance as it relates to the Hindu community. Maybe you can speak on behalf of the Muslim community now. Do you think that intolerance also exists with the Muslim community?
Yes, I think it do exist. Even right here in a very small country, we see people, making fun of the Muslims when they strive to garb themselves in the way they have been told to do it. And, God Almighty tells us in his final revelation, La ikraha fid din, that there is no compulsion in religion. And as such, everyone should try to be tolerant and learn to appreciate each other's beliefs. But it is only by doing this that we'll be able to attain peace in this country.
Reverend Paul, your thoughts on all the points raised?
Well, Devant has cited some very, very interesting examples, and he has been very consistent because over the years he has been talking about this. And even when he used to represent the Mahasabha on the IRO, he always challenged us to be brave and to be bold and to address those concerns which he raised. And on the IRO, we are very concerned about those issues, and we have tried to raise them in a very constructive and in a very healing way, in a way that will bring about wholeness rather than to bring about disunity. For instance, the IRO, which of course includes most of the religious groups, has given support to the call for the changing of the name of the Trinity Cross to what it is today. And we are very happy indeed to see that happen.
Now, Reverend Devant, I'm going to ask you to stay on the phone a little while longer. We do have to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to touch on the issue of the prayer at official state functions. Now, Devant did cite the example of what is being done in the parliamentary chamber, but some may argue that in a multi-ethnic, diverse society, do we really need to represent each faith, or can we not accept a universal prayer? But we now take a very short break. When we come back, we would continue to explore this issue of religious equality and freedom in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us.